My name's Mike, and I'm going to be showing you how to change the heating element on a dryer, an Amana NED7200TW. There's another video on YouTube on how to do this, but they go through the back, and I'm going to show you how to go through the front. And hopefully we don't even have to move the dryer, which is nice. Don't have to worry about messing with the dryer vent or anything like that. All you need to do to replace this is a screwdriver and needle nose pliers. And if you're wondering if you can do it, you probably can. This is what's broken. This is a new one. And what happens is these wires get brittle after many uses of drying, and eventually they just break. And that's what happens. So what you'll notice is that your heater won't work in the dryer. Everything else with the dryer works, but it won't heat up. The first thing we're going to do is take off the top. There's two screws right here on the back corner and right here on the back corner. Okay, there's one and there's the other one. Now you just push back towards the wall with the top, and it should just lift off, right, just like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to have to do is take off this control panel. Before we go any further, I'm going to unplug the dryer so I don't get electrocuted. That's a lot of volts. Okay, there's 4 screws right here, 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 and here. Now this is what I found was actually the toughest part of this whole project, was getting this control panel off. It can be kind of tight, and I just kind of had to wrestle with it a little bit. Oops. I think if you press in from the sides and just kind of work with it, pull it straight up, it should come off. This has a wire connected to it, so you can't take it completely off, but you can just set it on top and it shouldn't be in your way. Okay, the next thing we're going to take off is the front. I'll show you the screws to take those off. There's one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. And then after that we'll open up the dryer. There's 2 screws by the lint filter right here and here. Those are the screws you have to take off in order to do the front. Alright. So this falls off. There's a wire harness here that you have to take off. I think it just basically pulls straight out. So then this, okay, back up a little bit. This just lifts up and the whole thing just comes off. If you're not sure whether your heating element is the problem, if you want to, at this point you can check to see if it is. In order to do that, you need a multimeter. These are pretty cheap at any hardware store. I have it set on ohms. When you touch your 2 leads together, you'll see that the needle moves. I don't really care how far it moves up. It goes to about 1.5, I guess. When you put your leads on your heating element in here, can you come and take a look at this? This is the heating element compartment right here. There's 2 wires, a red and a blue one. The blue on top and the red on the bottom. If you put the 2 leads there, that should move when I touch the 2 leads, which it does. So this heating element that is in here works. If yours doesn't work, then that needle won't move, or it won't move very much at all. Okay. It doesn't matter which lead you put to the red one and which lead you put to the blue one. And if you know it's the heating element, or you just want to take it off and look for yourself, then you don't even need to do this step. Okay, so there's 1 screw to take off the heating element. And it's this screw right here. Can you hold the flashlight actually, please? It's this one right here. That's the only one you need to do. And the reason why we went through the front instead of the back is this screw is really a lot more difficult to get to when you're trying to access it through the back of the dryer. I'm just going to basically take this whole thing and pull it straight out. Might need to lift up a little bit first, but this whole thing just comes out. There's wires all along that heating element. You got to take those off in order to take the heating element out. Now you want to make sure that the wires colors go back on the same way they are right now. You see there's a red on the bottom and then a blue on top. And then there's two more in the back of that. Black is on top and blue is on the bottom. And then there's two more behind that. The black is on the bottom and the blue is on the top. Take the needle nose pliers and you squeeze the leads and just pull them straight off. This wire here might be worth disconnecting to get a little more access, so you just got to make sure that you plug it back in. Okay. So you can see these wires a lot easier now. Make sure you take your needle nose pliers, grip it like this, and then just kind of work it. Maybe sometimes go from the side. That seems to work easier. There we go. And there we go. Okay. So this is your heating element case. Now we're going to take off all the screws that attach the top of it to the bottom. This is the front of the dryer right here, and this is towards the back of the dryer right here. You're going to take off this screw, and this screw on that side, this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw on the left hand side. You got to take off the screws here and here for this thing, and the screws here and here for this lead. Try to make sure that you remember the orientation of these before you take it off, so you remember it when you're putting it back together. Okay, so you took off the 7 screws on the top and the 4 screws that held those 2 leads on, and then this just should come off pretty easily. So this is the old heating element right here. And you might be wondering, what's wrong with my heating element? And why am I replacing it if it still works? Well, this heating element broke, but I'll show you a trick. If you have a broken heating element, you'll be able to see a physical break in the wire, in this wire coil, which is why it doesn't work and you don't have continuity with your coil. Once you find that break, what I did was scraped off the 2 ends, the 2 loose ends of the coil, scraped off the corrosion with a box cutter or a razor blade or something like that, and twisted it together with my pliers. Then I double checked the continuity using the same process with the multimeter that I showed you earlier, and I just touched the 2 leads like this. So when you're trying to fix your old one temporarily, you can check to make sure that it'll work with your multimeter before you install it back in. The downside of this is that you have to kind of basically take your machine apart twice, but the upside is that you can order it online for pretty cheap, and then put your old one back in until you get the new one, which is what I'm doing right now. Just a quick disclaimer on fixing your old one by twisting the wires together. That is a potential fire hazard, and so do that at your own risk. Don't blame me if your house catches on fire because of it. Thank you. There's 2 leads to disconnect the old heating element from its encasement here. The one thing when you're taking off this old one from the encasement, Sometimes they bend a little tab down right here, so just make sure everything's straightened out with your needle nose pliers with this plug, and then you should just be able to pull it straight through and out like that. Do the other one with the bottom, and then you just replace the old one with the new one and reverse all the steps to put it back together. Make sure you remember to connect the electrical cords that you disconnected before it's too late while you're putting things together.